So recently a Delta plane was landing, and as it came down, it hit the ground too hard. The back wheels bounced. One of the wings clipped the ground, flipping the plane, and all the passengers ended up upside down.
It was mass chaos. I was upside down. The lady next to me was upside down. We kind of let ourselves go and fell to hit the ceiling, which is surreal feeling.
What did Delta do? You're waiting for me to drop a hammer and be like, Delta didn't do anything. Love Delta. As a Delta Platinum member, I feel bad making this video, but Delta though did do something, and something I thought from a PR standpoint was really good. Here I am talking about it. Delta offered $30,000 to every passenger, regardless of whether they were hurt or not. And this offer of $30,000 purportedly, and I'm believing what I've read in the media, had no strings attached. There wasn't a release. A release says you take this money and you're releasing Delta of any liability, of any responsibility for causing the crash. Now, at least one passenger that I know of has filed a lawsuit against Delta for injuries. What I'm gonna tell you, even with my Delta bias here, I'm gonna try to be as objective as I can. Really, you fly Delta, you fly Frontier, it's just a totally different experience, people. Totally different. Delta is giving Fox Brothers barbecue on their plane. But anyway, I think that from a PR standpoint, this is a really smart move. I think there's probably a lot of you out there that are saying anyone who would sue more than $30,000, they're greedy. It's kind of part of the strategy. Anybody who says, $30,000 isn't enough, you kind of look a little greedy, right? It serves its purpose. Your friends are going to say, hey, $30,000, what do you mean? I'd flip over in a plane and not be hurt for $30,000. From a PR standpoint, I think this is good business.
I have received the communication regarding the $30,000. Is it fair? I haven't slept in days. The emotional stress, I almost can't explain it. Is my mental health worth $30,000? Can you put a price tag on that? I don't know. I can't answer that.
I think from a lawyer's standpoint, it's a very difficult case. It's a very expensive case. Difficult to me means difficult to win on the merits of the case, the facts on the case. And then it also can, and does in this instance, also mean it's difficult from a business standpoint, because you have to be worried about whether it makes sense for the client. If the case is going to require 5 experts at $20,000 a pop just for their retainer agreement, the money you give them up front that they then work through, that's $100,000. Do you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in injuries? You need a substantial injury to justify the complexity of the case and the cost of the case. Because now I can't just use common sense, and probably most importantly, the jury isn't allowed to just use common sense to come to a decision. You have to provide expert testimony. And I can't really think of many cases that involve transportation as a whole that would need expert witnesses more than a plane crashing, unlanding, and flipping over. Because none of us have the common life experience or common sense or just general knowledge to know what the pilot should have done, what the pilot didn't do. So as a lawyer taking this case, you're going to have to hire many experts. This is going to be an expert-heavy case. And typically when you need experts, it's because the case is factually difficult. These people that were on the plane and decide to sue are going to have to prove that the pilot did something wrong. The pilot didn't exercise the right judgment. Now, the law won't allow the jury just to say, well, the landing didn't go well, obviously, so must have been the pilot's fault. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to have an expert who's going to say, this is what the pilot should have done, X, Y, and Z, but the pilot only did X and Y and then did A. And A was the dangerous thing that caused the crash. That's called causation. You need expert testimony to say, these facts show that the cause of the crash was the pilot, or was Delta as a whole. So those lawyers are going to be hiring experts on behalf of their clients to look at the pilot's actions, the co-pilot's actions, maintenance, manufacturer, airport. You are hiring a host of experts just to find out what went wrong and why. And that is an extremely expensive thing. And you may find out at the end of that, nobody really did anything wrong. It was something that happened that was nobody's fault. I know that's difficult to kind of believe, and that's difficult to accept, but that's the truth sometimes. Sometimes everyone does what they're supposed to do, and you just have a bad outcome based on the absence of hearing that there weren't absurdly serious injuries. I'm pausing and thinking really hard before I decide if I want to get involved in that case. Now, there may be lawyers out there who say, I'm going to be in the news and I get to sue Delta. This is going to make or break me. This is awesome. What I will tell you, all press from the lawyer standpoint isn't good press. And especially since we as lawyers have restrictions about what we can say and what we can't say about ongoing cases, that's not a good enough reason to take it. And then a fun aside point here, the Dolans own Madison Square Garden and the New York Knicks. They were banning lawyers from Madison Square Garden who were suing any of their companies. So would I take this case if someone was extremely injured and I thought I could win and I had a good idea of kind of the lay of the land? Yeah, I probably would, even if it meant I wouldn't be on that Delta plane. That's the God's honest truth, but based on the facts, I think it's a really difficult case to take.
Is 30,000 fair?
I mean, look, I would take $30,000. I'm thinking of less than that. I wouldn't do it for $10,000. I probably wouldn't do it for $20,000. I'd have a hard time leaving $25,000 cash, tax-free. You hand me that money, probably take it.